So I have given birth to 8 children.
Oh.
Those were all kind of your typical hospital births. And a couple of them were inductions, if you know anything about that. So the doctor decides when you're going to have the baby and he brings you in and they give you an IV and they hook you up to all these monitors and shit. The contractions start. And then they tell you to walk around the hallways, and then you get back to your bed, and they give you more drugs, and the contractions get stronger, and because they're doing this to you, they're so strong that there's no possible way to deal with them. So they sit you up, they stick a needle in your butt, and and they pump drugs into there so you can't feel anything, and then they lay you back on the bed, and they take the bed all apart, they drop the bottom down, and put these 2 stirrups up, and you're laying there with the leg in your stirrup, and cannot feel anything from the waist down, so any kind of shit could be happening down there. And, the doctor is telling me when to push, what to do, and then the next thing I know, there's a baby that I don't get to see because it gets carried off to some little incubator somewhere where they wash it all off and they clean it out, and then I get to see it. So that was my first 4 childbirths. And at the time I was pregnant with number 5, I decided I had enough. That was not what I wanted. I moved to a different town. I could do it any way I wanted to do. And I really, really, really wanted to get in touch with my inner hippie and do a completely natural childbirth. I wanted a home birth. I wanted a midwife. I wanted no drugs. I wanted to be in control. That's what I wanted. So the first thing I had to do was kind of negotiate with my husband, who's an engineer, about the whole home birth thing. And I could see the little wheels turning. We had a couple who were born with the cord wrapped around their neck, and I could see him imagining them untying a half Windsor at bedside. And then there's the whole mess thing. And he finally just said, he laid down the law. There will be no birthing in the house. That's going to be. So, no birthing in the house. I'll go for the next thing. I'm going to go with the midwife thing, and I'm going to go all natural, no drugs. If I got to do it at the hospital, I'm still going to do it my way. So I start researching all natural childbirth. And I come across Dr. Bradley. Now, Dr. Bradley was a obstetrician in the 1940s. And apparently, if I thought my hospital births were bad, he describes some horrendous things, like moms going into operating rooms and they're in all kinds of pain, and so they're being tied down by their wrists, and they put a helmet on their head, and then they give them anesthesia and just completely knock them out. Like 3 days later, they come to, and there's their husband and their baby. And Dr. Bradley grew up on a farm, and he had seen animals, plenty of animals, get hurt. Cows and waddles in my field is just and he figured that surely human beings could do this better, being strapped and helmeted and riding around. So he came up with a way for human moms to be more in control and have this natural childbirth. And he started teaching women how to do this, and he started having workshops, and he wrote a couple books. Well, I got a hold of one of his books that was published in 1974. I get the book, get my husband, and we start looking through the book. And the first thing we notice is that on every page, there's a photograph of the mom, and she's in some stage of pregnancy or labor or delivery or postpartum or whatever, and she's wearing the same thing in every picture. Nothing! And the husband is right there with her in all the pictures. And Dr. Bradley was really interested in having husbands all involved. So that guy was there. And here's what he was wearing. He was wearing terry cloth short shorts, tube socks, tennis shoes, no shirt, and gold chains. So here's our second negotiation, right? Me and my engineer. And I say, honey, there's a dress code for this brand. And he says, yes, there is. So we made another compromise. We decided I would wear something. He gave me the tube socks. He said he wears his t-shirt like he always does every day, but he wears tube socks. All right. So tube socks and I get going and learn more about this Bradley thing. And And the first thing that we really fell in love with was the idea that the moms for Dr. Bradley were completely in control, that they could do however they wanted to do this, that there's really no wrong way to do it, it just feels right to you. So if a mom wants to, she's in labor, she wants to walk around, she wants to sit down, she wants to be in a rocking chair, on a birthing ball, in the shower, in the bathtub, which actually explains the dress code. That she could do whatever she wanted to do. And I loved that because it was like the complete opposite of what I'd experienced up to then. I just really wanted to be in control. So I loved that part. But there's more to it than that. There's the actual labor and delivery and childbirthing part. So the next thing that Dr. Bradley, we read about with Dr. Bradley was he had this fascination with watching barn cats in particular give birth. And he noticed a few things about these barn cats. One is that they would lay on their side while they were laboring. And I guess he watched enough of these that I actually read that he noticed that the little contractions, you can see these little contractions happening in the little kitty belly. And but absolutely everything else about the cat would be completely relaxed. You do the old leg flop thing. It's just completely relaxed. So much so that if you looked at the little kitty's face, little eyes would be closed, and it would look like the cat, she was asleep. And so he made this part of his deal, was when you're laboring, you need to try to maintain the appearance of sleep. And you do that by learning relaxation and how to relax your body. And the problem with that then is that there's this whole contraction thing, right? We still haven't know that. So his take on the contraction thing was, just stop, ladies, thinking about this as painful. It's not painful. It is powerful. Powerful. And he called them powerful surges, is what he called them. And he said to his women, once you are completely relaxed, and your eyes are closed, and everybody thinks you're asleep, you can connect with this powerful thing going on inside your body. You can connect with your baby. And it's almost like a self-hypnosis kind of thing. We encourage you women to visualize some way to work through the powerfulness of it all. So I had it all down. I practiced my relaxation. I got tube socks. I figured out I was going to wear something. And I went and I found a midwife practice. And I talked to the midwives. Actually, one of my midwives is here tonight. I'm so excited. and I spoke with them. But we were concerned because we were giving birth in a hospital. We're trying to do this Bradley thing. And nobody does this Bradley thing anymore. It went out in the Mississippi. And so we were concerned we were going to get to the hospital and they weren't going to know what to do with us. And they said to us, no problem. There's this thing called a birth plan. You write everything down. They register you in the hospital. You give them your birth plan. You walk through the door, and they know what to do with you. So I thought, great, birth plan. And I put everything in the birth plan. I was going to have music. I was going to have Byzantine chant playing right there. I was going to be able to walk around. I was going to be able to get in a birthing tub. I was going to be able to take a shower, whatever I wanted. There weren't going to be any monitors. There weren't going to be any drugs. I was going to be in complete control. I was going to birth in whatever damn way I wanted to. If I wanted to squat down and move, I was going to do it. And it was all in my birth plan. Had my basis covered. So the day comes, and it's Labor Day. Not Labor Day, it's Labor Day. And I had decided that I was going to labor at home for as long as I possibly could. So the only thing I was going to give tube socks was the hospital delivery. And if he could get me there, I'd have that baby, and then I would have my Bradley birth. So sure enough, I stayed on as long as I possibly could. And I found a comfy little chair. That was my thing that I found. And I sat in my chair for hours. I felt these powerful surges. Up all the labs. I figured out the whole, feeling like sleep thing. Surge is going on, and the surges are getting a little stronger. And what I'm imagining in my mind is that they're waves, right? So I don't know if you've ever experienced this. Some of you obviously haven't. It kind of feels like a wave going over your belly. So I imagine that there was like this wave just kind of washing over me, and my baby and I were on our little boogie board, we were riding out this wave, and it worked, it actually did work. And I got pretty good at it. In fact, I got so good at it that I found out later, my last midwife for my last delivery told me that she had like vied to be able to do my birth out of the midwife practice, because she wanted to see me do this thing before she retired. So but I'm at the point where these waves are higher for me, and I know I'm really close. We're only a few minutes away. Okay. Tube Socks puts me in the car, and we get to the hospital, and I get out of the car, and I'm doing this appearance of sleepwalking thing. There's sliding doors, you know, I'm doing these slide open. Sleepwalking thing. Somewhere over here, there's some woman talking about registration and last menstrual period. I'm still, you know, doing this. And we had called our midwife before we left the house, and she said she was going to meet us there. So I'm walking through here, and the next door, this one goes into the labor and delivery. It's going to be it. It's going to be my first Bradley birth. And the door opens, and there's no midwife, but there's a nurse. And it's a male nurse, which I thought was a little weird. And Tube Socks says, you know, oh, this is Mary, you know, you're expecting us. Our midwife is going to be here in a minute. We're doing a Bradley birth. You have our birth plan. And we want to get into our delivery room. She's really about to go any minute now. And I happen to, you know, open my eyes and look at this nurse. And there's nothing on this face. Does not recognize anything we are saying. And he says, okay, Mrs. Clopson, so just come on in here to this triage room. Sit up here on this little 15-inch gurney. Oh, here you go. Here's your pulse ox. Here's your blood pressure monitor. Oh, look up your mind so I can get those monitors around your belly. Oh, you're good at this. You've done this before. Here we go. Okay, now we're just going to let all that go, and we're going to let the monitors do their work. And when I come back in, then we'll know how far along you are. And you left 3. So there I am with my 40-inch pregnant ass on this 15-inch gurney. Considering myself pretty lucky I'm not handcuffed and helmeted at this point. But this was not where it's supposed to be. So I figured, all right, I'll just get back in my room. I'll do the best of it. I'll figure it out eventually, and then I'll get to do what I get to do. And hopefully my midwife will show up. Got my appearance of sleep thing going on. Riding out my waves, riding out my waves. And there's one big honking wave. And it's right out here, and I know I'm awfully close. And I look over at the contraction monitor, and it's going like this. And my wave is going like this. And at just that moment, the nurse walks back in. And he looks at the monitor, and he looks at me. And he looks at the monitor, and he looks at me. And he goes, I think this thing is broken. She's clearly just rested. This is not how women who are about to have a baby look. I'm just going to disconnect all this from you. And I'm going to send you on home. Because you're just not ready. More pain if you were. So you just go home, you come back in a few hours, walk around. I'm sure this baby will be born today. So I swing around, well, you know, kind of fool around, and I get my legs down on the floor and get off the gurney. And I have one big ass, painful contraction. And I'm bending over, and I look in his face, and I see he knows what it is. So the next thing I know, there is all kinds of hospital stuff going on out there. There is a little wheelie car with surgical instruments going by. There's an incubator going by. There's women with towels going by. There's an IV pole going by. And the nurse comes and he takes a wheelchair and he puts it under my butt and wheels me as fast as he can into this labor and delivery room. And he gets me back up on the bed and he hooks me back up to everything. And he goes to put the bed down and lift the stirrups up. And my midwife walks in. And she looks beautiful. She's wearing a suit, a jacket and a skirt and nylons and heels. And she walks in and she says, "Mrs. Klopsik, I'm here. Wait a minute. What is this Ivy Pope? We don't need that. Get rid of that. And what are you doing to that bed?" And I thought she wanted music. Wasn't it Byzantine chant? Well, just get out of here. And all the nurses scatter. And she says, "Am I having time to change my clothes?" So 2 nurses grab the gown and they put it on her, and she stands there at the bottom of the bed, and she's flat on my back, hooked up to everything, trying to get my groove back. And she looks into my eyes, and she says, "Mary, don't want to go on your back. Roll over." So I remember my barn cat hero, and I roll over, and everything starts coming back together for me. I'm in my groove, and the waves are riding, really big one. And then my baby and I are riding out another big one, except this one crashes on the beach, and I push, and there's a little head coming out, and I get a moment to catch my breath. There's another big wave, and it crashes on the beach, and I push, and I see a real wave. I see this huge wave come out of my body and press, and there's a little body on top of it. And my midwife is over here. She grabs the little body and kind of bobbles it, and then gets a hold of it. She brings the little body to me, all slimy and still connected. Puts the little body right here. And I look at it.
You know, we go through this process. Remember, when I teach the class, it's, you know,